If you're a K-pop fan, the word spaghetti is highly likely to remind you of 르세라핌's hit song of the same name, which has been boasting a presence on the US Billboard charts for multiple weeks. Seeing this, it raises the question of why K-pop features so many songs named after food items, from spaghetti to ice cream to candy, like Walter said earlier. So let's discuss this with Grace Kao, IBM Professor of Sociology at Yale University, who asked herself the same question. We are now connected with her. Hello, welcome back, Professor Kao.
Hello, Professor.
Hello, Sora. Hi, Walter. Nice to see you both again.
Happy to see you. Okay, so Professor Kao, you recently wrote a column about this food song phenomenon in K-pop. What inspired you to choose this topic, and what key points did you want to highlight?
Well, so I've always noticed it actually, but spaghetti, I guess I really noticed it with spaghetti because it was about a savory dish. I know that sounds kind of ridiculous, but I'm like, oh, there's been lots of songs, but they're all about sweet things. And I'm a huge BTS fan. I love J-Hope. And so here's 르세라핌 doing spaghetti and J-Hope is in it. And I thought, oh, he also had chicken noodle soup. And then that sort of got my brain thinking about, oh, are there other savory dish songs versus sweet food songs? So it sounds kind of silly, but it was a fun exercise.
Okay, speaking of BTS, it just reminded me of butter. Maybe you are going to mention that later on again.
Yes, and also Super Tuna as well.
Oh, right.
Not Super Junior.
I know, I know.
But,
we could go into spices and flavors and all this stuff. It just sort of goes on and on.
Right.
Well, talking about it, what are some representative songs that immediately come to your mind? You just said a few then. I think I stole the probably most common one, which was candy. I think most Koreans would say candy when they think of food-related titles. And in your view, how has K-pop effectively used food imagery as an appealing concept?
Yeah, so like you mentioned, I mean, the first candy song, of course, we all think of as H.O.T., but of course there's other songs with the word candy. Baekhyun of EXO had candy. There's songs with cake, ice cream cake, every variety you can imagine. So I think when I think about the sweet songs, I mean, that's exactly what we think of when we say bubblegum pop, right? It's the light songs you hear in the summertime. You might think of it as really something that younger people might sing. So you expect a young idol group to sing about candy or cake and so forth. So I think that's the first thing that comes to mind. But spaghetti to me is different because it's kind of aggressive, actually, and maybe we can talk a little bit more about that. But it's not your typical, sweet, girly kind of song.
Right, and K-pop idol groups, they are known for their very distinct concepts. I mean, it usually changes from album to album to season. They always try to make it unique in some way. Now, how is the theme of food used differently depending on each group's image or identity?
Yeah, I think, some of it might come with age, right? So younger girl groups, as we talked about, thinking about ice cream and candy, it's very light-hearted, but maybe the boys, as they age, can get a little bit more masculine, and perhaps the songs can refer to slightly different kinds of imagery. So from something that's sort of light to something that could be a little bit more explicit. So I think that's how people can play with these images. But I bet if we sat down, we could probably think of at least a few food songs by every single K-pop group we can imagine, right? But I do think the majority are sweets. But of course, there's a whole genre of songs about different flavors, right? Sweet, sour, and then we can go into all the beverages, the condiments, and so forth. So, and partly I think it's because K-pop groups have to come up with so many different ideas for songs, and so food becomes something that's really handy. The other thing is food, I think, is it's universal, but it's also kitschy. So if you think about the visuals, spaghetti in particular is super, super kitschy. There's really bright colors. Spaghetti represents 르세라핌, and they're serving up themselves. That's why they're giving you the spaghetti from the food truck. And it reminds me, of course, a lot of the first song that I think of is Orange Caramel's Catalina, which is really the most kitsch, K-pop song in my opinion. And all my students love that video.
So with Orange Caramel, that's actually even like a subunit that calls themselves with food.
Yes.
And when we started with the segment, I actually couldn't think of so many titles, but listening to you, Professor Kao, gives me so many new titles popping up in my head. For instance, as you mentioned, beverages, we have soda pop actually from K-pop Demon Hunters very recently.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And yes, speaking of images, really, if we talk about sweet food titles, you have that kind of sweet and cute image, usually more among girl groups. But again, spaghetti, which has been very popular recently, it's kind of different. So let's delve a little deeper into 르세라핌's spaghetti. It's been noted for diverging from the traditional sweet or cute food-related image in K-pop. So what do you think this shift represents?
So I think, this is, again, a very aggressive move. They dirty themselves, so to speak. I mean, we expect, female idols in particular to look perfect, no blemish, no dirt, no blemish of any kind. And here they are jumping around in food. They're eating it. They're also smearing it on themselves. In the song, there's even a movement of nausea. So they're doing all the things that we don't expect idols, especially female idols, to do. So that's really fun. And then the other thing is at the end, of course, people are eating the spaghetti, but their little heads are also exploding because I guess they're so overwhelmed with 르세라핌. And one funny thing is that J-Hope, the rap verse that he has, he actually never ingests the spaghetti. So I don't know what that means. I guess spaghetti is really meant for 르세라핌 only.
Good analysis. And food is something universally understood. So from a sociological perspective, why do you think such a universal theme actually works well within the K-pop concept?
It's pretty hard to offend people using imagery of food. And I think it's sort of an easy way to, as a, analogy for all kinds of other things in life, but in a very lighthearted way. But I do think spaghetti is kind of a twist on from all these other kinds of dessert and candy like topics. And there's even, I think that's why K-pop Demon Hunters, it does everything. It does so many things brilliantly, but soda pop is especially brilliant to me because it's really exactly the kind of song that a young boy group would have, right? It's about a food item or beverage. So to me, it was just perfect.
Yes, my daughter is absolutely in love with that song. She sings it all the time at home, so I haven't stopped hearing it. But yes, especially with 르세라핌, that really reminds me of ITZY's Cake as well. They also went all out with very bright colors, and their dance moves represented, eating a cake as well as making cakes. It's very similar in that way as well. Now, is this abundance of food-themed songs unique to K-pop, or I'm trying to think of Western songs that actually have food, and all I can think of is Weird Al Yankovic's "Eat It." Yes,
exactly. You have read my mind because I think because it's so kitschy. So I thought of Millie Small's My Boy Lollipop, which is an old song from the 60s, and she was a young girl at the time, so that seems appropriate. She's talking about teenage love. But you're right, most of the songs that came to mind were Weird Al's songs. You mentioned one of them. There's, he did the Knacks' My Sharona, he made it My Bologna. Yeah. Joan Jett's I Love Rock and Roll, he made it I Love Rocky Road. Because it's so easy for comedic effect that I think Weird Al really leaned on it. But it's hard to think of too many songs that are serious just about food. Perhaps we could think about, liquor as people drown their sorrows, right? So the most obvious might be UB40's Red Red Wine, which is actually a cover of a Neil Diamond song. So, again, lots of songs about getting drunk and liquor and so forth. but maybe not as many about eating bubble gum.
I think there was also Milkshake.
Ah, yes, by Kesha, I believe her name was.
Yeah.
Oh, Kesha, no.
Yeah.
Or Gwen Stefani. I think maybe
There was a few. There was a few. Let's not get caught up.
There's not very many, though. It's not the same as K-pop. I mean, in K-pop, it's really just, there's an overabundance, right? There's hot sauce. There's so many songs with food items.
Right. So I guess it is true that the world of K-pop is obsessed with food. And I would actually like to see more K-food titles.
Yeah.
For instance,
Oh, really? Yeah, that's a great idea.
Because now the world is also really obsessed with K-food, it would be great if all these K-pop idols would sing about Korean food. And
That's right.
Actually, what new themes or emotional codes do you think K-pop might explore next? Any good ideas?
Well, I think, the most famous groups, they're aging and we're aging with them, I guess. But as groups like BTS and Blackpink, they're in their, going into their 30s, some of them already in their 30s, and they can elevate the songs that people are listening to and are familiar with. They can certainly explore more adult themes. They certainly have already done things like, finding one's identity, your sense of purpose, perhaps more serious versions of love, not just puppy love, but, more explicit mentions of that. And I don't know, maybe, going through the life course, you can think about other more serious matters, maybe not death, but, we could approach that. One thing that I think I haven't seen in Western pop music, and certainly not really in K-pop, and maybe this is not going to happen, but, back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, there were more songs about sort of protest songs about, the environment or about, nuclear arms race and so forth. And that is something that I don't really see in Western music. And I know in K-pop, it's kind of a taboo topic, but it would be interesting if that came up somehow.
I think that would be quite interesting.
Yeah, like bands that come to mind are REM or Rage Against the Machine.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, those are
Yeah.
those sort of bands that remind me of like political protest sort of bands.
I feel like I'm
Right.
speaking to two music experts today here. Well, thank you very much, Professor Kao, for your insights, and have a K-pop-filled rest of the week, and talk to you next time.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And thank you, Walter, as always. We're going to see you back here tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.